Good evening. Let's all rise and pledge the flag to open the meeting. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, welcome everybody. It's a new year here in Red Hook, January 2018, and we've all survived the cold snap of the first week of January. Today it's moderating. What's it, 23 out there or something? All pretty good, but we think we have the village building survived, and I think most of the mains in the village survived. We haven't had any major water breaks, so that's all good. And welcome. What we could do is let's just approve our minutes first, and then we'll let a few things happen. We had two meetings in December. One was December 11, and one was December 21. I've circulated the minutes and reviewed them. Didn't know if everybody else has had a chance to look at. Are there any other additions, alterations, or corrections? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept those two sets of minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Thank you. And maybe to break the agenda a little bit, Robbie, do you want to report first? Or I see a lot of flashing lights outside. Is that something to do with you, or what's that?
No, do I need the mic or am I?
Yeah, actually, we went back to the mic.
So, yeah, you mentioned that you noticed flashing lights out front. We've got the ladder truck here taking down the wreath.
Oh, thank you. It's thank you very much. Yeah, I saw cones out front. I didn't know. Some years we use a tree company. Other years we use the fire company. And this year it looks like it's the fire company helping us out. Thanks so much.
Sure.
So I get to peer in our windows, and that's good. What are you using, a big platform
Ladder truck.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
So I'm Robert Fry with Red Hook Fire Company. We had 26 fire calls for the month of December and 39 EMS calls for a total of 65 calls. Total for the year was 939 calls. So that takes care of that part. I did want to ask about we had talked in our discussions about the drainage water or the roof leaders and things like that, and trying to get that out, and you were going to be looking into.
Yeah, right. I could fill you in a little bit. Two things. We did talk in contract talk season about what else we could do for each other over there, the building and so forth. And just for everybody's info, one of our wellheads is probably, 15 feet from the back wall of the fire company. And we're looking at some options there. So I did, and again, more recently, talked to our engineers about looking for some funding options. What we're looking at is to work either drainage, to take roof drainage and groundwater drainage and redirect it or somehow channel it somewhere better, and or abandon that well and drill another well somewhere. So those are the two options, and they are hunting through some funding sources for us. It's nothing we could, in and of ourselves, fund from current operating budgets, and the way we work on projects like that, we'd find a funding source and work with it. But for us to move the wells, relatively expensive, and even the drainage work would be expensive. But we do, and one of your cohorts on your board and I talked maybe two weeks ago or something briefly, and the engineers did get back, and we're looking to see what they can find for us. But we are looking at it. So what else we got? So they're out there practicing, and fortunately we're not trying to evacuate the building or anything. So
No.
it's and then well, we have him here. What else is up this year? So what's new on your end? We see the new ambulance arrived, and it's been moving around. I've seen that. And
Yep, that's been out and about. We did have to send it back to Jersey for a week.
yeah. Mm.
Still had the old ambulance, so we used that.
Oh, yeah. I just had kind of a layperson question. I hear like a new siren tone. Is that in the new ambulance or all the rigs? Or it's sort of like a reverse lower sound, but instead of the high pitch, it's a...
Yeah, it is a lower sound. It's called a howler, and it helps with notifying people that we're coming. You know, with the cars being built so quiet that, you know, or people have the radio up, they don't hear it. but with that lower tone, it creates a vibration that you actually feel in your vehicle.
Cool. And I know we've been invited to your annual awards, and that's also your appointment of officers
Yes.
session, isn't it? So could you tell us who the new chief and what's up in that world of the organization itself?
The chief is staying the same. It's still Steve Fell.
Okay.
Assistant chief is Sean Ball. I'm not going to go through all the officers,
yeah.
but the board of directors has stayed the same. President is now going to be Keith McGilvery, and then we're also filling some other spots. So.
Good. Yeah, because is this time of year, does it change January 1? Is that when it changes, or how does
Yeah,
that? Yeah.
January 1. And then, do we have a payment coming up?
I think I
It's
saw it.
vouchered to go tomorrow.
We have, I signed it the other day, the good thinking notes, it's there. It's the next sequence of payments. And did you bring in a report that you'll leave with us for the?
Sure, I can leave this
Thanks,
with you.
thanks for coming in.
Okay.
We appreciate it. And,
Thank you.
So you're gonna go help outside, or you back to the station?
I'll check in.
Tell them thanks a lot. All right. When we have them here, especially when I saw lights flashing, I thought maybe they're waiting for him to go somewhere. Yeah. But anyway, with regard to the minute approval, I thought we'd do as is our custom. We did have the passing of somebody at the other corner of Prince Street. Mr. Ralph Keeler passed away a few days ago. So I thought in his memory and his honor, we would leave a blank page in our minutes. Does everybody concur? Thank you. And moving to the money side of the world, Treasurer Sharella, do you have a report there?
Account balances, general, $404,352.94. Water fund, $106,683.86. Trust and agency, $34,538. Materials management, $7,007.33. Petty cash, $25.52. Village Green, $4,136.88. Hard scrabble, $5,203.84. Health insurance, $4,576.20. Expenses for the month, general fund, $297,367.24. Water fund, $17,277.67. Trust and agency, $34,500.38. And materials management, $3,356.24. The general fund expenses are high because I had to pay for the new highway plow truck, which was $173,000.
Isn't that just a placeholder? Because
It's
we,
just, I want to tell you,
okay.
yes,
'Cause I did
the
go
big
through-
chunk that has to come out of the fund balance.
balance.
Yes,
Okay,
I won't deplete your, that
No,
much.
I was going
I
through
know,
it.
I know.
That's what I figured, so.
Yeah, let's just talk about that a minute, because I made a note here too when I was looking at it. So the number she said is the cost of the truck that we all knew about, the 173, 355. And you do remember how we structured how it's coming, what Brent's referring to, about 88,000-ish, I think, was coming from certain sources, yeah, and
CHIPS, highway reserve, water
we had it all
reserve.
broken down. And we did, as I recall, we did get the bond payment check from Salisbury Bank, right?
Yes.
They delivered it. So we have the money in hand. So what he's questioning is, you just have to switch the.
Yes.
Because at first blush, that's a pretty heavy month, but call it 175 of that is related to the truck. So what's the difference, 120?
Well, that's just it. If you look on your report, you'll see in that same line item, it's high,
Yeah, chips
Because-
and highway capital and
because the money came in for
snow
it.
repair, so.
Other than that, let's see, the rest, I think we're at 58% of year as the end of December, and I was looking at with garbage, since that's one of our lower funds that we monitor pretty closely, I think they're at 53% of revenue, which is pretty close to 58% in the scheme of things, so that's good. All right, is there a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
So moved.
All in favor? Thank you.
I'll second it.
What are you doing over there? I'll go next on police report. Looks like we have in our packets here for December. Total number of incidents, 338. Breaks out 228 were in the village of Red Hook, 101 were in the town of Red Hook, 9 in the village of Tivoli. Ticket breakout is 80, 43 in the village, 3 of those are parking tickets, and then 37 in the town of Red Hook. Arrest, 22. Breakout is 12 in the village and 10 in the town. What I've been doing is, with these reports, since we're doing more, the town has given us some more money, first of all, and then secondly, we're seeing the numbers in an anecdotal sense a little higher in the town count as far as the percentage of incidents and the percentage of traffic tickets written. I started a spreadsheet just to have something where we get these every month, but the spreadsheet will memorialize what we're looking at, and we can study a little bit and analyze a little bit further. It does make sense that their town piece is tracking upward because they're paying some more money for some more time out there, but I still want to keep an eye on it and just see how it works out. As far as personnel, I may add, while we're talking about it now, at the end of the agenda, I'll add an executive session. Shouldn't be long, but we can go in on something. Red Hook Together. I know we have another meeting coming up here in January. It's a group that Brent usually reports on, but with his new work schedule, I can talk about that a bit. It's they canceled the December meeting because of inclement weather, so the January will be the next one. Meeting now over at the Civic Center. I'd like to lobby them. Somehow they've picked to meet at 9:30 in the morning, which seems like a little too early for a lot of people to get a good attendance. Historically, it used to be like midday lunch hour for a lot of people. I think we got better attendance. But like we said, when you hear Brent's reports each month, it's a very important group here in Red Hook. It combines the governments, the schools, libraries, Chamber of Commerce, different merchants groups into a sit-down, get-together and talk about calendaring and events and promotions and just anything that really comes up. It's since we don't have a newspaper, it almost coordinates a lot of entities and helps things work pretty well. So I'll report after the January meeting next month. Looks like that would lead us to Mr. Trustee Trapp. Are you prepared there to talk?
Yes, sir. Don't have a lot. We have finished all of our, at the Planning Federation, everything is done. We are currently preparing to meet to review the possible spring classes. There will be 3, maybe 4, be 3 meetings. Maybe one of the sessions will be split into 2. And we're working on that, maybe a special sort of guest at some point during the year. We had often discussed that. Brent and I used to go to some of the dinners that they used to have, but the funding kind of got unusual, and we really are funded by the municipalities that are part of the Planning Federation. And owing that we do have a little bit of surplus money, we may try and find somebody with a little more whoop to it so that we get something interesting as opposed to just the DOS guys that come down and do the presentations that they have stock. And other than that, won't know more until after our meeting. I think it's going to be in February, so I'll update you at maybe the next meeting. And from the building department this past month, we had 5 building permits issued. Oh, I see a familiar address. Yes, indeed. Anyway, certificates of occupancy, 5. Certificates of compliance, 5. 1 municipal search was conducted, 1 order to remedy, no stop work, no court appearances, and the fire inspections are on the attached printout. Planning board meeting December 14th, there was a sign approval, and the ZBA, you guys had business.
Yeah, first one this year.
December 28th, they had a ZBA meeting, area variance for a property. And the amount tendered last month, December, was $1,553.50. And just as a reminder, like might be a good time to revisit the fee schedule that I passed around. I mean, beginning of the year, might be good to look at all of that, owing, how much it costs us to run the department, how much we took in, what sort of deficit we're, at. I'd like to see if we couldn't at least break even on the building department. I mean, I've been able to do that in 2 of the 3 municipalities that I work, so maybe we can do that here, so it doesn't cost the people, just the applicants. And I think that's it.
Okay. On the money side, I don't think you reported the number on the page there, did you?
155350.
Looking at it for December, what would you say? Looks like some fire inspections, like you said, building permits are in there.
1553 is not a bad number for the village in December.
Right, yeah.
It's actually a pretty good number.
I think last month was 1,800, was it, if I remember right? Somewhere in the low 18s.
Yeah,
So it's,
maybe.
all right, well, thank you.
You bet.
Let's see, if we could, why don't we skip to trustee Norris? You ready to talk on your world?
Could you be my Vanna White and hold up the Red Hook Electronics sign, please?
Again?
Yes. So this Saturday, we're having our, annual electronic waste recycling event, Saturday, January 13th, from 8 to 12 at the Town Recycling Center. You don't need to have a recycling sticker in order to access the recycling center that day. Allowable e-waste includes televisions, monitors, computers, keyboards, cables, power cords, not power cods, telephones, fax machines, scanners, printers, cell phones, VCR, DVR, DVD players, digital music players, digital converter boxes, cable or satellite receivers, electronic or video game consoles. There will be a $20 charge for the old TVs. We do have limited home pickup available. Call either the Village Hall or Town Hall for details. This event is held with the Town of Red Hook, Village of Red Hook, and the Bard Center for Civic Engagement, who provides volunteers for the day. Back to normal. For the month of December, we sold $2,656.50 in garbage tags and paid out $1,044. We had 8.86 tons of garbage and 4.86 tons of single-stream recycling. Events on our end are we're in the lull. We're gearing up for the egg hunt. We have a tentative date for that. I can't even imagine that we're thinking about that yet, but it's Saturday, March 24th. As of right now, but that's still just penciled in. Historic Red Hook will hold their annual soup night on Saturday, January 27th from 6 to 8 at the Elmendorf. And the Red Hook Library will hold their annual trivia contest on Sunday, January 28th at Cancun's at 1 p.m. And that's all I have.
And your first event there, I heard there's some live music that night. Do you know anything about that, Trustee Trapp?
I do. There is a group, a really wonderful group called Duality going to be playing up
Are
there,
you
so-
playing soup night?
Yes.
Awesome.
Cool.
Cool.
And then on the library, the trivia contest, it's like Jen said at Cancun's, but it's an awesome, it's in between Super Bowl and the playoffs, so it's a quiet weekend for everybody, but it's pretty rowdy and quiet and crowded in that Cancun's, and I work as a judge and logistics guy, and it's always a good time, so if anybody wants to make teams, that's how it works, and the proceeds all go to the library, so it's really good, really fun. It's an annual thing that's been happening for quite a while, and happens right in Cancun, so it helps everybody. And when Jen was talking about the e-waste, just to clarify one or two things, we have been getting calls for that pickup that we offer. And another thing people ask, it's not directly through the e-waste, but the town does recycle air conditioning units, dehumidifiers, and refrigerators with the big compressors and things. So people can get that over there somehow. I'm not willing to lift refrigerators on the back. I'm the one that picks up things, but if you have an old refrigerator or something, you can get it to the town recycling. There's a $15 charge for those, and they're not in the e-waste division. They're in the regular recycling part of the town transfer station. And the other thing, when Jen uses the word old TVs, we're talking about CRT, in other words, not flat screen TVs.
Big ones.
The big old tube type monsters. And
That includes old computer monitors and all that sort
if
of
it's
stuff.
that
Okay.
big funky glass teardrop shape, with a CRT concept, that there's a charge for that. But it's $10 for less than 27 inches or $20 for more. It's, the reason being the recycling place we take it to doesn't really want to deal with them, so there's a charge for that. But thank you, Jen. Looks like I buried my agenda in a pile here somewhere. We could go to Waterman, and I would ask Trustee Lang, do you have the version where he starts off talking about the water report that the computer was down the first 5 days of December?
I have two versions.
Yeah, could I see what you have there? We asked the operator today, he sent something very confusing. Let's see.
The one on your left hand is the correct one.
So this is the right one here?
We like this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so the water report for December 2018. No,
2017.
I'm
17.
reporting on it in January 2018, but it's for December
Right.
2017. So during the month of,
December?
well, the one you gave
Yeah.
me says November. You still want me to use that one, or do you want me to use the one that says during the month of December?
This is a December report. It looks like our person putting this together has his months and years confused. But this came in about 4:30 tonight. So it is the December 2017 report.
Right.
So it should say,
Okay.
should say December right there.
Let's go with that.
Yep.
So during the month of December, the computer that records daily telemetry data suffered a crash and was sent out for repair. No. That happened during the month of November.
Well, no.
But it was returned to service on the evening of December 5th, and as a result, the flow data was unable to be properly recorded for the first 5 days of December. So for the 25 days for which flow data is available, or available, the plant treated 5,188,000 gallons of water at an average rate of 207,000 gallons per day. During the entire month of December, the plant used a total of 50 gallons of liquid hypochlorite to treat the public water supply at an average rate of 1.61 gallons per day. Additionally, 3 samples were sent to Smith Laboratory for bacteriological testing, and all 3 returned a negative result. And for comparison, in December of 2016, the plant treated a total of 7,151,000 gallons of water at an average rate of 230,000 gallons per day. So I think even though we don't have the data for 5 days of last month, clearly we're still right in the same area that we've been running, which has been a sort of 20%
Right.
reduction in usage, again, thanks to the
Yeah, and
water
thinking,
supply improvements.
thinking back to the first sentence we read there, I do recall now that his last month's report did reference some computer failure at the end of November, so he
Yeah.
does mean November in the beginning.
Yeah,
And
and
it
that
is,
went
yeah.
in, yeah, so they
Yeah.
didn't get the fixed computer back online until the 5th of December.
Right. So like you're saying.
I do have a little operator tip here, which I'd
Okay.
just like to shout out for the users. So, if your home's water pipes are susceptible to freezing in extremely cold weather, which we've had, consider running an upstairs faucet at a trickle overnight. This keeps water moving through the pipes and prevents water from sitting in any exposed sections of pipe for long enough to freeze. In extremely cold weather, conserving water is not as important as preventing freezing. That's a good tip.
It is. Yeah, and later on, you'll see in our agenda, we're going to talk about water operations and a couple logistics, so. One of them being that this report will be coming in for 4:30 tonight. And it was kind of comical when he first, hey, Chris, when he first sent his first one, if you look at the other version, he said something, there's no data available for December. And, but he was trying to say, not for the whole full 30 days, but the wording was, at first I had my heart skipped a beat. I was like, what, no data? Because, so I did pull you might recall there's a paper, handwritten, the operator actually logs in on a handwritten piece of paper, the gallons pumped per day. So I said, there's data, we had a separate sheet, so we recrafted that first part. Welcome, Mr. Munn, how are you? Let's see. Looks like we're ready for Deputy Mayor Kowalczyk and his input. Are you good?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. Go for
I'll
it.
start with the Village Green Committee monthly report for December. Current balances of the Village Green Committee's related budget accounts as of December 31st are as follows. Community beautification, we have a balance of $2,846, and we started out with $4,000, but because of our annual fall planting, I would think that's where most of the money went on that one. Shade tree contractual, we have a negative balance of $6,350 as a result of removing many more trees than we had anticipated. And the Village Green Committee checking account remains at $4,136.88. And there were no Village Green Committee meetings held during the month of December. And Brenda Cagle and Dave Pearson and I are working to finalize our Tree City USA application, to renew our application, and that's well on our way. So that should be out soon, momentarily. The Village of Red Hook Highway Department monthly report. The village's snow ordinance is in effect until March 31st. No parking is permitted on village streets from 11 p.m. to 6 o'clock a.m. and on New York State highways, which are Route 199, Market Street, and Route 9 Broadway, from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. during the same period. And when snow and ice removal operations are underway, any vehicle parked or abandoned on any street may be removed by or under the direction of the Red Hook Village Police Department or any responding law enforcement agencies. Costs associated with the vehicle towing and storage will be charged to the vehicle's owners. Also, in light of the snow that we've had, the owner and/or occupant of every building or lot in the village with an adjoining sidewalk shall remove snow and ice within a 24-hour period of a snowstorm. The village board may, at the direction, remove snow and ice, or give the village highway department permission to remove snow and ice on sidewalks left uncleared at a cost of $2 per linear foot. And this cost will be assessed and collected with the next tax levy. I think we'll probably be talking a little bit more about the truck, but what I have is the new 2018 Freightliner 108 SD dump plow truck has been delivered to the Village Highway Department. Once markings, lighting, and some accessories have been installed, the new truck will be fully operational. And the Village Board of Trustees approved Resolution Number 33, 2017, on December 11th, authorizing budget lines used for funding assistance, which is about $84,500, and the issuance of a note of $88,855 in the form of a municipal bond pursuant to the local finance law for the purpose of the purchase of the new truck. And we also are expecting some revenue from the sale of the 1996 International truck, which we did decommission, and the FEMA recovery money from Storm Cella, and this will be deposited in the Highway Reserve CD Fund toward the first bond payment. Scrap metal was sold on December 7th for $351. Total revenue generated for this fiscal year is $2,510.60. So as it stands halfway through, we are $500 over our anticipated annual expected revenue. Since inception of the scrap metal recycling program in September of 2007, $24,722.17 has been generated. And proceeds from this program go toward the purchase of tools and equipment for the Village Highway, Water, and Material Management's Department. Anyone interested in donating scrap metal, residents and businesses, may contact the Village Highway Department at 758-8600 or the Village Clerk's Office, and the Highway Department personnel will assist property owners by picking up scrap metal upon request. The Red Hook Intermunicipal Task Force and Red Hook Infrastructure Monthly Report of December 2017. The Red Hook Sewer Project meetings were held on December 1st, 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th in the Red Hook Village Building at Vopalac Doris Schuing, Ed Blundell, and myself all attended, which we normally do every Friday. We discussed there's approximately 25 remaining requests for information. The sewer service questionnaires that have been mailed out to every property owner within the service area of the sewer, but not yet returned by the property owners. Ed Vopalak from CT Mail is scheduling meetings to assist these property owners. We also reviewed the sewer use law, resolution number 36, 2017, which was adopted by the village on December 11th after our public hearing. So that's one big step past us now. CT Mail's associate engineers, Ryan Biggs, Clark, and Davis, are preparing maps of individual properties to accompany easements for each property in the sewer service area. Our attorney from Roddenhouse and Shaw will review all easements prior to them being released to the property owners for review and signatures. All easements must be secured or condemnation proceedings initiated prior to advertising the request for estimates of bids, construction bids. Hookup to the sewer system is mandatory based on the New York State Building Code and the Red Hook Village Sewer Use Law. Responses to the questionnaires are required to analyze engineers' design documents. The documents, once completed by CT Mail, will be reviewed by the Dutchess County Department of Health, the New York State Department of Health, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the New York State Department of Transportation, the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation, and the United States Department of Agriculture Rural Development. So we have 6 entities reviewing our work and design. Final revisions and responses to regulatory agencies' comments must be addressed prior to advertising for bids. So we're gearing up, trying to get this thing complete as soon as possible. We also discussed and looked at preparing public notification of a public hearing to listen to property owners of the sewer service area regarding property assessments for the sewer project, and I believe that's up on the agenda a little later. The preliminary timeline that we are looking at, this is very rough. We're looking at between March and April of 2018 to comply and address comments and revisions as per the Dutchess County and New York State and United States regulatory agencies of our design documents. And this is prior, and then we'll try to advertise for estimates of construction bids. May or June, around that area, we're anticipating awarding the contract for construction, and hopefully that'll hold true. So we're months away from starting this. June and July, we hope to secure the ownership of the Red Hook Commons Sewage Works Corporation existing treatment plant and land, and then begin construction. Sewer project moves forward in Red Hook was an article published in the Northern Dutchess News the week of December 20th and 26th. So it kind of explained a little bit more about what we're doing, and they've been running periodic articles about the process and where we stand. So keep your eyes posted for any latest news in the Northern Dutchess News. The Red Hook Village Water Project Phase 2 meetings were held on December 1st, 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th in the Red Hook Village building, and we discussed the decommissioning status of the existing elevated water storage tank. We did respond to the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation memo of November 29th, 2017, which was the execution of closing documents. We discussed the status of required closing documents with Hawkins, Delafield, and Wood, which is our bond attorney. We discussed water operators' responsibilities, protocol, and logistics, and we'll probably be further discussing that on the agenda tonight. And we did respond to another EFC memo of December 29th. I think we got all those things taken care of except for one part. And we also reviewed the revised USDA Rural Development Letter of Conditions of November 21st, 17. And this was revised based on the $925,000 grant that we got from the New York State Water Infrastructure Improvement Act grant program. So they reduced the amount of loan obligation that we have because we got additional grant.
Oh, it's the 228, not the 925, right?
Oh, for the water, I'm sorry, $2.28 million. Again, they reduced the amount of debt obligation we had for the loan. Red Hook Water Project Phase 3, we're just discussing what possibilities may exist for moving forward with the Phase 3. We did review preliminary estimates, scope of work, and potential funding sources for the area that may include Elizabeth Street, Fifth Street, Thompson Street, Grave Street, and Cherry Street. And the Green Innovation Grant Program, we did receive a letter from the New York State EFC informing the village that consolidated funding application that we submitted for the proposed innovative green municipal parking lot project was not selected for funding to the 2017-8 grant program. On the task force side, which I'm a member of, we meet at the town hall every Friday. We met on December 8th and 15th in the Red Hook Town Hall. We reviewed and discussed the proposed zoning amendments to the Town of Red Hook, Upper Red Hook Hamlet Business District regarding the proposed map, boundary, and uses. We reviewed existing provisions in the Town of Red Hook Traditional Neighborhood District, the Commercial Sub-District, for special permitted uses specifically for convenience stores, gas stations, self-storage, and auto rental uses. And we also reviewed existing provisions in the Red Hook Town Traditional Neighborhood District, the Office Industrial Sub-District regarding bank and veterinarian office uses. So we're busy as usual on the task force. The Red Hook Economic Development Committee, both Ed and I are village liaisons. Ed's been attending, I think you've been attending regularly. Unfortunately, I've not been able to make it because of my work responsibilities. An EDC meeting was held on December 13th at the Red Hook Village Building. We had, I guess, Nicole Rogers discussion regarding the possible methods and procedures to put the 5th Street, Elizabeth Street South Broadway wetland, which is basically the pond behind the library, how to maybe upgrade that for everyone's benefit. They discussed updates on the seasonal village and town events. Ed gave a status report on the village sewer project, and there was discussion on changes and revisions to the Town of Red Hook Local Law D to amend the Red Hook Town zoning law regarding solar energy systems. And there was a discussion with recent intermunicipal task force meetings regarding local Red Hook Town regulations for franchise businesses and actually formula businesses is the proper term. On the Community Preservation Fund, which I'm a member of, there were no CPF Advisory Board meetings held during the month of December. Final transactions were complete on the 73-acre Potts Farm in Red Hook with the sale of development rights of the land. Funding for the PDR was provided by the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets, Scenic Hudson, and the Town of Red Hook Community Preservation Fund. The Dutchess Land Conservancy served as project manager and provided a portion of the closing costs and in-kind services and will hold and oversee the conservation easement on the land in perpetuity. The current balance of the Community Preservation Fund as of December 31st is $936,726.97. And there are a lot of properties in the village that are listed on the project plan that could take advantage of this, including trails, the pond behind the library, even the wall, as far as not for restoring the wall, but for what they call preserving it, which is acquiring ownership of it. The Red Hook Town Zoning Review Committee, which I'm a member of, there were no meetings held during the month of December. The Sawkill Watershed Community, there was a meeting held on December 13th at the Elmendorf, and they recognized the volunteers and those who worked on the water testing, water lab, and outreach, and the State of the Sawkill report. We reviewed 2017 in review and community conversations. We discussed ideas for the Sawkill Watershed community coming up in 2018. And just as a related note, the Winnicke Land Trust received a $1.2 million Regional Economic Development Council grant award to acquire 335 acres of land in the town of Red Hook adjoining the Sawkill. The land acquisition will protect the Bard College water supply, protect conservation values, such as the National Wetlands Inventory wetlands, and enable the Winnicke Land Trust to work with partners to create a non-motorized trail for pedestrians and bicyclists that will serve to connect Bard College and the Empire State Trail to the village of Red Hook. And that's all I have.
Good, thank you. On the last item there, the Winnicke Land Trust, you all will recall that we did write a letter of support for that grant, 6-8 months ago after meeting their director. That's good. And then one thing, Brent, if you could clarify, just so people watching on Panda more than anything, when you report the Community Preservation Fund, and then in reference, you did mention at the EDC meeting, we have some interesting new residents that have bought village property adjoining the wetland/pond, and they came to the EDC, and it was kind of an interesting story. EDC starts at 8:30 in the morning, which is pretty early to start, in my opinion, a meeting like that. And I walked in, and this group of new owners wanted to hear about the quote pond, and I said, well, it's a story that goes back to about 1889, and many of us on the board, most of us have been through it a few different times, and we have the wholehearted intent to somehow get something better back there, but right now it's still all privately owned. So I think when Brent's talking about that $936,000 there, if it was truly there where we could immediately act, we would be, but the hang-up still is that it's 5 to 8 individual property owners either own under the wetland, in the wetland itself, or abut to it, and we've pretty consistently recommended that they somehow work and come up with an idea, because no one of them has been really willing to give up or donate their property to anybody. You know, right now we can't theoretically work to improve a private person's property. We can't gift them. We can't move public money that way. So it's not that we're sitting on the access to almost $1 million and not doing anything. It's more, there's a lot of other technical and legal things, so.
They have to come forward, and the money in the CPF fund is for acquisition. It wouldn't be used to in any way restore the wetland, but it would be to acquire it, and by putting it into a municipal ownership or not-for-profit ownership, it does qualify for many more grant opportunities, and so that's something that we could work toward achieving once it's in public ownership. So that's
So
how
did-
the CPF could be used.
So with the new folks that are now abutting owners, they seem to have a new energy to look at it, and I thought they might be here tonight, but they're not, so. But really, from a board and a legal perspective, even if our village, we'd have to watch, even if we took ownership, it is I would consider a quasi nuisance in and of itself. It floods when we get a lot of rain, it's different things going on. So we would have to have some sequence of events lined up, I think, to take ownership and move forward somehow, but anyway, I just want to clarify that. Then if the board could flip to Brent's pages where he talks about highway, a few things jumped up. It says, let's see, excuse me, I guess it's the top of the page, is Intermunicipal Task Force, ITF, where he talks about the sewer project. One good thing to know for Brent, too, at the Friday session last Friday, which would have been whatever, we did learn that the count of really non-responsive property owners has dropped quite a bit already, so it's less than 25 now, so that was a good thing.
I think there were 25 issued, and there were 10 that did not respond, and some responded and have not met with that yet. So
Yeah.
I think Ed Vopalak has been,
Yeah, they're out on the streets, knocking on doors now.
Right. And he's very good to talk to, and
That's roughly, just for everybody's overall knowledge, it's 127 plus or minus properties. So between 10 and 15 that are not responded yet is a low percentage. And then one thing I thought I'd ask the board's input, and we should introduce, in walked our newly elected county legislator, Chris Munn. Thank you for coming, Chris. I don't know if you wanted to say anything in a minute, but or you just want to listen. But I think Friday we heard from our engineer that, like Brent said, there's all these acronym agencies that look at what's called our design plan for the sewer plant and sewer project. And we got one of the primary ones is the County of Dutchess Department of Health, and they asked for, what, $1,580 in fees to review our plan, and I took a little umbrage. I was like,
Really?
wait, it's,
Really?
yeah. And so I reached out to some contacts, but I don't know, it won't make or break the plan, but it was like, just seemed a little counterproductive to me, like, we're funding this with essentially user fees, and then we also pay county taxes, so this county engineering and Department of Health folks can look at it. So it's, like I said, it's not going to make or break in the scheme of the overall dollars of a project, but, so I don't know if we could lobby somebody in a positive sense, like, I was trying to link it to, maybe Chris could check out, there is that PMG, Partnership for Manageable Growth, right? It's where the county can also fund different projects ranging from what farmland acquisition to what they've used it for in the past. And then also, in the past, they've indicated they could theoretically move some money toward our project too, the sewer project. But in the past, they always needed to own a piece of it. Somehow their bond counsel told them it's a bonding type event where they go and get the money. They felt they had to have some collateral or something they're actually funding. But a recent talk with the county executive seemed to indicate that maybe not anymore. Maybe it's more open as far as a funding vehicle.
But for borrowing, I think the way the law is written is that a sewer or water project had to be owned by the Dutchess County Water and Wastewater Authority. And the county legislature a couple years ago did fund that component of the Partnership for Manageable Growth. Most of it had already always existed with the law, but never that component of it funded. Always the farmland protection component was funded. A couple years ago, they did fund that. I think Hyde Park was a recipient of $500,000 through that fund as well. Talking with the county executive, he did mention something, but that's only pertains to if they have to borrow that money. I think they have some money budgeted within that account that's not going to be borrowed that we may have access to. So we will be writing letters and hopefully meeting with you to further advocate on our behalf for additional money for our sewer project through that program. So the more money, the better, the lower the cost. So
All right, and then one other, it ties in with some of Jen's reporting, and then Highway Department too. With regard to garbage, I was talking to Highway Foreman Dan Stribe this morning, and starting next week, it doesn't really affect the customer, but we're going to start garbage pickup at 5:30 a.m. They're having a little trouble between volumes of school traffic when their cycle gets them in conflict with traffic more and more, and it seems like less and less people ride the bus and more people get driven to school by parents. They're finding it very, very difficult, and on top of that, this time of year too, with the somewhat narrower roads with snowbanks and things in place in the main streets. So I said, all right, most of our people get their stuff out. Our rule says have it out by 6 a.m. I don't think too many people roam out there at 5:30 in the morning. I think most people put it out in the evening, so there might be a snafu the first week, but if we can get the word out somehow, and we'll put on our website or something too, but those that use it, it seems like it's always out there. But I want the board to know too, in case you get any calls, like, hey, what's up? How come they're out there a little earlier, A, and then B, if they do miss somebody, because they're in the habit of coming out at 5:45 with their trash, they might get missed. But like you all know, they can't hit every street at 5:30, so whatever they'll just be a half hour earlier everywhere. It seemed from a worker safety thing, it seemed like an issue that he was concerned about. So I'm going to put that out there.
Will that impact payroll at all?
No, what we'll do is, good question, but that's the second thing I thought of with him too, and we'll just they'll work that day 5:30 to 1:30. So. And let's see, we could move to regular business. I think we hit all our committee reports. So Brent did touch pretty much on the heavy truck update. He writes his report independent of me making the agenda, so, but the update is it's here, and we have the letterer, how would you say, the mobile, Hudson Valley Mobile Graphics is our local truck lettering person. He said he would send me some stuff, but it has not arrived today. The truck came in a bright yellow. We knew that was happening, and we were thinking of wrapping it totally in red, but it seems cost prohibitive to do that, and we don't want to paint it because that's even more costly. So we're looking at some striping, emblems and different things that'll make it match into the rest of our fleet. So we should see something, but it is here. When it first arrived, it came without its main plow. Intentionally, they had to truck that down separately, and the highway guys have checked it out, and they're smiling ear to ear over there. And unfortunately, we're not meeting it yet. They've been able to do with the lighter plows. We have not had a major snow that this truck would really help with. And like you all know, part of it is we'll use it in other months, the warm weather months, to haul material and different things. As we take more and more of our water and other tasks on ourselves, we'll be using it across the board with other departments. Let's see, maybe we could move to the second bullet, resolution, public hearing, sewer assessment basis. Maybe Brent and I could talk here together, but let me find mine. Essentially, when Brent talks about sewer, and we all know it's a $4.9 million project, and we got our letter of commitment from the USDA, we then knew we had the funding, and we knew that was $3.7 million of long-term money at a certain rate and $1.2 million in grant money. So we could then get really specific. That's when this thing got live just about a year ago. That letter was, what, December 29th, 2016, as I recall. So what it let us do was do the math. And part of the process, the last meeting, we did pass the sewer use law because we don't have a sewer system. We had to get that under our belt. And now some of the process requires that we advise those in the service area how we establish their rate basis. And as you know, it's not a tax to every village resident or every village property owner. It's a user fee to those in the district. That's not the right word, in the service area. And so what we're doing is we're crafting a letter that'll go. We know, and you all might have seen, I have a spreadsheet here that has every property owner, and then also, I'll have to find it here in a minute, but it has what's called their number of benefit units. We monitored their water consumption, and that's a driver of how much sewer use we're going to get out of a particular property. So what we did was built a really nice spreadsheet a while back, and let's see. And rounding the numbers, once we knew the USDA loan basis, we could say, okay, capital costs are X, and then we were able to predict operating and maintenance costs based on knowledge of our engineers and the current plant that's over there. And the number we've been working with is $780 a year per benefit user. So a single-family home using 150 gallons a day is a benefit user base point. And somebody with 22 apartments would have maybe 12 benefit users. It's not necessarily, a home does not automatically equal an apartment. But what we have to do is, we're entitled to set our rates, and we've set them on a valid basis. We're just obligated to sit with folks that want to come, so we'll be setting a public hearing for them to come next month. But in the interim, we have to also send this letter, which council is crafting, that will go out to all these 127 property owners. The good part is, a lot of those properties are owned by the same individuals or corporations. There's a few big landowners, property owners that have several commercial locations within the village. So we don't necessarily have to mail 127 letters and have 127 people sitting out there, but we're looking to do that next time around. I see Jay looking at my computer screen. Let me see if I can find the EDU count just to refresh everybody.
EDU is based on 150 gallons per day. And that 150 gallons is pretty much a 3-bedroom house, 50 gallons per bedroom per day was the way that figured. And that is the lowest assessment, is 1 benefit unit per property. Like Ed said, there's some properties that use more water. There's some restaurants that may use 5 to 7 benefit units, which are considerably more water, and they're assessed at a higher rate based on the number of actual gallons of water they use. And this was actually calculated based on our new meter readings for 2014 and then again at 2016. So there's almost 2 years worth of average meter readings with the new meters that we base this on. And this is substantially lower than the design parameters set forth by the New York State Department of Health and DEC. So this is actual, which we can verify with data, which gave us a lower number.
The good part is it's a database where when we send out the envelopes, it'll all do a lot of the work. It'll come from the clerk's office, but it'll be designed by the engineers and legal. And then it's not as onerous as it just looks. They'll address envelopes and everything right from this. And like Brent had mentioned, we've been sending out design studies to get easements, so there's a lot of, the addresses are all updated. Some people might live in Florida but have a property here in Red Hook, that's all been corrected for. But anyway, the long story cut to the chase is that we have to have a public hearing on this, so council drew up the first resolution we'll work on tonight. We'll ask Cindy to give us a number. It looks like it's pretty easy to do, yeah. I could do that myself. One for 2018 is what we're joking about up here. We usually like our mellifluous J-Trap to read a little bit. There's a couple of fields we have to enter here as we go, Jay, like with some dates. But maybe Cindy first, the next meeting in February would be, what date are we looking at in February? Charles has a calendar.
14th.
14?
Valentine's Day.
Oh, cool.
I'm sorry, no, 12th.
12?
That's my other job, sorry.
So let's see,
Let's say
Then-
number 1.
Then 10 days prior to that would be the 4th. That's number 2, the now therefore be it resolved.
which whereas you on there, my friend?
Not whereas, now therefore.
In the therefores?
Number 2, the village clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish notice of said public hearing in the Daily Freeman of said village on or before the
Well, I'd
4th.
like to give her a little, there's a 10-day, so it's not less
10
than 10.
days or before.
Yeah, so,
So just go before the 2nd.
January 30th?
is that a weekday? What is that?
Yes.
Yeah. So say 30 January? Did you address paragraph 1 sub 1, Brent? I heard you say something, the board trustee shall hold public hearing, consider map plan, and propose apportionment of local assessments on February, we said 1,
12.
1, 2, okay.
February 12th? Not 14th?
She said that first, but then
Oh, okay.
changed her mind.
And then the first paragraph is.
214?
No, 12th. February 12th.
That's
Okay.
7.
And then 130th.
130, 130.
Okay, Mr. Trapp, would you,
Very good.
we'll read it, then we can offer it, but let's read it so we all hear it and the public hears it.
A meeting in the Village of Red Hook was convened in public session at Village Hall, 7467 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, on January 8th, 2018. The meeting was called to order by Mayor Blundell, and upon roll call, the following were present.
We'll say all. Okay.
All were present, none were absent. And the following resolution was offered by, and we'll get to that at the
Yeah,
end of the meeting. Okay, there you go. Resolution to schedule a public hearing on apportionment of local assessments, municipal sewer system, Phase 1. Resolution number 1, 2018. Whereas the Village of Red Hook has established a municipal sewer system to serve the village pursuant to Article 14 of the New York State Village Law. And whereas the village has determined to construct the sewer system in phases, with the first phase encompassing the general business district and contiguous areas, in parenthetic, the sewer project. And whereas the expense of constructing the sewer project will be assessed upon lands benefited. And whereas a map and plan of the permanent sewer project with plans and specifications for sewer treatment has been prepared by CT Mail Associates dated February 15, 2017, last revised May 8, 2017, entitled Map, Plan, and Report, Village of Red Hook Sewer System, parenthetic, the map and plan, and was filed in the office of the village clerk on August 25, 2017. And whereas the map and plan identified the benefited parcels and included a proposed method of apportionment of local assessment for each benefited parcel. And whereas the maximum amount to be expended for the sewer project is $4,900,000. And whereas the Village of Red Hook has been determined to be eligible for a zero-interest loan in the amount of $4,900,000 with a term of up to 30 years through New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation, subject to compliance with certain application deadlines. And now, therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Red Hook as follows. The Board of Trustees shall hold a public hearing to consider the map and plan and the proposed apportionment of local assessments on February 12th, 2018 at 7 p.m. at the Village Hall, Red Hook, New York, at which time the Board of Trustees will hear any objections to such apportionment. And, number 2, the village clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish notice of said public hearing in the official newspaper of said village on or before January 30th, 2018, which is not less than 10 days prior to the date of said public hearing. Number 3, the village clerk is hereby authorized and directed to send notice of public hearing to each property owner in the sewer project service area at their address on file for village tax purposes, including notice of the filing of the map and plan, which includes the proposed apportionment of local assessment.
Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, but
So, Mr. Brent, would you like to offer that as a
I
motion?
would like to offer resolution number 1, 2018.
does everybody have that little glitch on the whereas?
Yeah,
second sentence?
the 4.9 comma
Yep,
comma.
another zero.
Yeah, so we have a motion, is there a second? Thank you. Is there any further discussion? I'll call to a vote then. Looks like they'd like a roll call here. Ed Blondell, I vote yes. Mr. Kovalchek,
Yes.
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Ms. Norris, and Mr. Trapp. Looks like it carries, so we'll file that and we'll do the necessary clerical work to get letters and get,
Has there been the draft letter that's all taken care of already?
I have not seen the draft yet, but they are working on it. Okay, that's good, thank you. Budget meetings, a little bit lighter, but maybe not so. It's coming up on that time.
Just as much fun.
It's, it seems like it comes awfully fast each year, but we are on an annual budget cycle, and we have to have our tentative budget due March 20th of 2018, so we have some time. I was thinking, usually we fill in some Thursday evenings, similar to our workshop nights. I thought we could probably start more in February. Is everybody pretty good on a Thursday night? It seems like it tends to be the workable.
Start maybe
And-
February 8th. It gives you 3 in February and still 3 in
Mhm.
March. That's a lot of
Yeah,
days.
could I just see, how about maybe the next one, 15th, February
Okay.
15th?
15th would be our normal workshop.
Is it? Well, let's do it that night anyway then,
Okay.
thank you. So if we start 15 Feb.
Through March 22nd, March 15th.
Yeah, so I just like to make a record that we're modifying our workshop sessions to include weekly Thursday workshops until we don't need them anymore. So commencing February 15th, and then we run to March 20th as needed. Yeah, at the Village Hall here. Is there a second on that? Any other discussion?
You're buying dinner?
Pardon me?
You're buying dinner for?
Pizza or something. All in favor?
Aye.
Good. So people are welcome, of course. What I've done is issued out to the department heads where we ask them for their wishes, their dreams, and we try not to smash them too hard, but, you know, to see what we're looking for. The story is, looks like it's going to be a 2% tax cap this year, which I think is the first time since we've been in business as a board that it's actually been 2%. We've struggled with, what, 0.68s and numbers that were practically zero for all intents and purposes. So, yeah. That's our most fiscal conservative over there. But what I did, I already started a spreadsheet with that really good model that we have where we can plug in numbers and work the whole model back and forth as we sit there. We do have to add, with the heavy truck that we bought, a new line for principal and interest on that, but we already budgeted, we knew we were going to incur that, and we had that in our heads when we planned for it, but we just have to add that, and, you know, most of our contracts do not renew next year. Police goes a couple of years, fire goes a couple of years, highway, I think, has another year or two, so we'll be working on that, but that's that, so we'll gear up for that starting in February. We'll remind each other between now and then. Public hearing on a portion of Morgan's Way. What this is, I handed it out when we came in tonight. I'd like to set a second public hearing for February 12th. And council was working on this afternoon. I have not fully read where she sets the actual time, so we'll have to change that. She's got 7 PM there. That'd be, well, we say 7:15, 7:30, something there. What this has to deal with, we'll explain more at the actual meeting when we deal with it, but part of the operation and construction of the sewer project involves taking ownership of the existing sewage treatment plant in the Red Hook Commons back lots there. And we need to get access, and we have what's called Morgan's Way. It's our road off Route 9 into the project area. And we would need, what we're structuring is how we're doing that. So the current owner of the property where the sewer plant is essentially going to transfer, and it's making this project work. He's transferring 10 acres to us. But there's some other separately delineated by other deeds and other meets and bounds of pieces we need to get. And we're looking to make what would be essentially a work with him with where Morgan's Way comes in. We need to get a little more land on one side to create what's going to be called a hammerhead, where we can get our service vehicles down and into the sewage treatment plant lanes. And so we're working up how to do that. When the Village of Red Hook accepted that project in 2008, we took over dedication of, well, we took Morgan's Way and Laura Lane. There's some motions that council has given to me to review. What we're doing is part of Morgan was paved, and that's currently used for the people that live in there. But then part exists on paper, but it's not a road. It's nothing we plow or maintain. It's just land right now. So council's trying to set up as part of when it's all conveyed that things can happen where we get access to get our vehicles in there. And what it boils down to is what we need to do is get a little piece that's not part of what was conveyed to us as Morgan Lane, and we're going to make a swap with the current property owner to balance out back in there, so we're not really costing him anything. So I'll be able to show you deeds and maps and different things, and it's a little complicated in the real estate world, but I could probably put them up in a workshop where we could have a big sketch in front of us and see what it is. But essentially, if you can picture it, it's a necessary step to get it in. It's not going to cost the village anything, dollar-wise, and it's just part of the process to get in there. So anyway, we would know that would be resolution number 2. Essentially, we're setting a public hearing where we'll listen to input, and we'll have time between now and then to get you guys to look at all the data and the details. But so this one, let's see, just 2 pages with this way. Looking at it, let's see where we have to fill in a few blanks here. Why don't we change that like we said? I might say 7:15, and if the first public hearing goes a little long, we can entertain who's here. And we did say, why don't we use the same 30 January in the next column, or the next paragraph, rather. And we'll use February 12th in paragraph 1. Mr. Trapp, would you feel like, maybe just from the whereases?
Okay, very good. This would be Resolution Number 2, 2018. Whereas the Village of Red Hook has established a municipal sewer system to serve the village pursuant to Article 14 of the New York State Village Law, parenthetic, the sewer project. And whereas in condition with the sewer project, the village proposes to acquire a 10.662 acre parcel of property, parenthetic, the sewer property, from Red Hook Commons Sewage Works Corporation, parenthetic, RH Commons, together with an existing sewer plant located adjacent to Morgan's Way. And whereas Morgan's Way was accepted for dedication as a village street by the Village of Red Hook on April 7, 2008, but fee title to the roadbed remained with Kearney Realty and Development Group Incorporated. And whereas dedication of Morgan's Way included a 0.142 acre parcel of undeveloped property located adjacent to the travelway for use as a municipal commuter lot, as more specifically described in Attachment A to this resolution. And whereas the village no longer desires to establish a municipal commuter lot, pardon me, whereas the village and Red Hook Commons, RH Commons, desire to reconfigure Morgan's Way in connection with the acquisition of the sewer property, and whereas pursuant to 6-612 of village law, the village may discontinue dedication of a street in the village after a public hearing. And whereas on February 8, 2016, the Village Board of Trustees adopted a negative declaration on the sewer project. And whereas on June 8, 2017, the Planning Board adopted a negative declaration for the proposed lot line alteration for the sewer property, which included the proposed discontinuance of a portion of Morgan's Way. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Red Hook as follows. Number 1, the Board of Trustees shall hold a public hearing to consider the discontinuance of a portion of Morgan's Way as more specifically described in Attachment A to this resolution on February 12, 2018 at 7:15 at the Village Hall, Red Hook, New York, at which time the Board of Trustees will hear objections to such discontinuance. And Number 2, the village clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish said notice of public hearing in the official paper of said village on or before January 30th, 2018, which is not less than 10 days prior to the date of said public hearing. Number 3, the village clerk is hereby authorized and directed to send notice of public hearing to each landowner abutting Morgan's Way.
Thank you, sir. So if you look at the first page, we're talking about 0.142, so 1.5 tenths, 1.42, 0.142 of an acre. So it's the end of Morgan's Way. Like I said, it's not, we're not giving up a paved street or a street. It's back when this thing was all designed and built like 15 years ago. And then when it was finally conveyed to us, we need to get this little 0.142 piece. The bigger piece in the second whereas, that's the full 10.662 acre parcel that houses the current sewer plant, and that is coming over in a separate, this resolution really has no, that's coming over, it's not anything we own now, we're taking that from the current owner. It's just this one piece that, when one looks at some action by the village back in 2008, we just want to make it clear that the village has not been using that part of Morgan's Way, and we're in a position where we can give it over and make a swap with the guy. So anyway, like I said, we should do it and have a public hearing, and we can cycle up the maps and things, that'll be part of it. But the big part right now is getting the public hearing set. So I think we need to do it tonight and get the thing rolling next month ourselves. So, anybody want to offer that a resolution?
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second it.
So we had Trapp and Kowalczyk. Any other discussion? Hearing none, let's go for a vote. I will vote yes. Mr. Kowalczyk?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Ms. Nars?
Yes.
And Mr. Trapp?
Yes.
Thank you. So it carries. So just some easier clerical work there. But let's see. Next bullet I had here was ZRC Zoning Review Committee. At our workshop in the prior meeting in December, we put in that moratorium in the GBD to give us a chance to redesign the way we look at automotive service stations and expansion or non-expansion thereof. We did come to the conclusion that we would set up a zoning review committee specifically tasked to that one thing, that one item. And by concurrence, as you know, the mayor has the authority to appoint boards and to appoint members. And in this case, like we do, we work as colleagues, and we selected Jay, Brent, and then a member of our planning board, Ray Tull. I did send out the letters. I'm not sure they hit anybody yet. Did you get one yet? I think they got one.
I did not. I almost got to talk to Ray, but I couldn't get the snow shovel out of his hand.
I think they went out, I think Friday, the formal appointment, in line with actions we took in those two meetings, December 11th and 21. And it does specifically state the nature and the task involved. And I thought the board could set their own method of meeting, their own time. Do they have to do, looks like there's a meeting going on right now over there. But Brent and Jay, if I could steal you. We gave ourselves a 6-month timeline, and I think I'd like to comply with that. I think it's feasible, and
I mean, Brent and I, have kind of brainstormed a little bit on this, and I think to revise as necessary, it shouldn't be very complicated here.
The scope of work is pretty clear and finite, so it would be.
so the goal would be, you would be empowered by the board to develop thoughts and ideas and make recommendations, and we would bring it back and do the requisite public hearings and things to change our code. So, but that would be what we're looking for from
Yep.
you, and some of it could be phone, some could be meetings, and we did offer in a letter if you needed counsel or you needed any resources, you would have them at your disposal. So we thank you for your help, and if you guys could put your brains on it and keep us posted, okay?
You bet.
All right.
The last bullet point I had was discuss water and sewer options. It all ties together, like we're talking about, Brent was outlining some timelines where at some point, we're gonna take over the existing sewer plant that currently services just the Red Hook Commons, which is 96 units. It has existing insurance costs, operator costs, maintenance costs, and things such as that. And we do, as part of our budget, for the first time, we'll be creating a sewer budget. So that'll be kind of fun. I've started it, but I'll get everything. But in line with that, or in accord with that, the current sewer plant is operated by VRI, which is a local, I guess, regional water and sewer plant operating company. And I had a meeting or two with them because it made some sense to continue, since they know the plant, how are we going to fold them in when we're constructing and doing all kinds of work around it? Do we have the engineer like we did with water, hire an operator? How do we, so we're working on that world. But I wanted to get your thoughts and input. And on a second part of it, when Water Phase 1 and Water Phase 2 were underway, we had the benefit of CTML being here every day with their site construction folks, and it was a total rejuvenation of our production fields, our storage capacities, our distribution. So it made a lot of sense to have the job superintendent also involved in operating our water plant instead of having some outside operator being essentially estranged from the operation while we were doing it. And things have changed at CTML. Some of our key players have moved on to other firms. We do have a contract for water operator with CTML, which runs till May 31 this year, 2018. We pay them a monthly retainer. But I don't think it's in the cards that it's going to continue based on some personnel changes they've had within the organization. Our staff, day-to-day needs a go-to point. We are moving toward incorporating more and more of the work within our own highway staff, making them more of a DPW, Department of Public Works. But there's still a certain amount of higher-end testing and annual reports and more on the management side that we still need a little bit of control or help with. And when there's an odd thing with a faulty meter or something, we still need somebody that knows the technical and different things. So we're talking to VRI about that a little bit too, as far as would we be better served? Could we get some ideas from them as far as in a supervisory role, helping us with our water operations, but us doing the excavations, the nitty-gritty as much as we can. And that's the direction I'd like to go. And they're looking at giving us some quotes to see what it would cost. I know you might remember years ago we did an RFP. Some of us were here. And you get quotes ranging from mom and pop operations to folks that are more corporate and more sophisticated. And VRI is on the sophisticated level. So we're trying to define just what we need and want from them. But it made some sense to me in that they also can operate sewer plants. So it could be the same firm around our shop that our people would get familiar with on both sides of the water world, clean and drinking water. So, so we had a Friday meeting this past Friday, and we're going to have the guy come back again. But it's looking like more of a supervisory position. I would like, not that we don't pay them; they're not employees or anything. They would stay off as a contractor, but something where we don't need them every day. We have trained, and we have one of our staff employees passed his water distribution licensing test. It's a grade of being able to operate a plant, but he still needs some more time and more help to get him where he'd be fully confident. We would have full confidence, and he could deal with it. But right now, we're not quite there. And the other part is VRI operates for the town, and that makes some sense there too. We have that interconnect with the town. Should there be a failure in either system, we can supply water to each other, and they're familiar with all that too. So a lot of it seemed pretty good. And council tells me that technically they define water operators as professional class, and procurement law in the village law says we don't have to RFP out for professional help. And then the last thing was, remember a month ago, we also passed that piggybacking, where we could theoretically, if we wanted to consider it, we could somehow piggyback off the town's RFP process on that. So I thought I'd want to let you know what we're thinking about. We did assure the current guys, the highway folks that work for us in water, that we're not looking to cut them off or end their careers here. It's just we need somebody to fill in what CTML was doing to keep us fully covered. We still have their credentialed operator and things, but we're not getting the same service. And today, some of the confusion we had on the water report was related to that. We were pushing the guy today to get the report for us today, and that's just not proper. And then when it first came in, it was like, we're really oddly worded, and so I think we do have to do something. So supervisory seems like where we'd go, and try to negotiate a rate.
And we're still working with CT Mail too, because it's important, as it was on the water, for the sewer project to have someone that, I mean, this is like invaluable knowledge to see the system go in, to learn the bugs and how it's put in, some of the issues, they know where things are located. I think that's very important. And we've been talking to CT Mail about that too. And VRI would probably add another layer of expertise onto that during construction and afterward.
Yeah. All right, so I didn't intend to vote on anything with regard to that tonight, just more to give you an update and let you know what we're thinking. Like we said, Chris Munn walked in. Did you feel like you wanted to say hello or say anything, or did you say sure? We have a new system where it's better if you talk into this mic, because we go wired right into the camera. So if you want to introduce yourself to those that don't know you. It should be on, yeah. Give a check there.
Hello.
Great.
Hi, my name's Chris Munn. I'm the new county legislator for Red Hook and Tivoli. And I just wanted to come by and say hello. I know pretty much everybody up here. I've worked with you at one point or another, and I look forward to working with you again. We've only had our organizational meeting. We haven't had any business meetings yet, so there's nothing to report. But I look forward to coming to your meetings in the future and working with you on issues, bringing them back to the county, and letting you know anything that's going on at the county that I think might affect you or the people of Red Hook and Tivoli. And that's it.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Yeah, I have, actually, a day or two I go to the county. I got appointed to Ethics and Reapportionment Committee. So I met the outgoing legislative chairman, Borchert, and then I guess, who comes in now, Chris? Is there a new, does that have to happen yet, or is there a new?
That already happened.
Yeah. Okay, Pine Plains, okay. Yeah, so I was doing my reading of county law that was written 2000, 2001. I think it's the last time they did it, so I have to go do a meeting on that. Just, first we're doing ethics, not reapportionment, so it's technically, I think reapportionment probably has to wait to the 2020 census, I would think, but I don't know. Yeah, so, but anyway. Yeah, thanks, because we work closely with the county and with our state reps and different folks, so thanks for coming. Let's see, I said we could go to executive, but we usually entertain public comment too from our audience out there. They both have their flannel shirts and they got their arms back like they're, okay. And George is going to comply with protocol and speak into the mic.
Okay, my question would have to be really with the police, the fire report we just got again. It's gone on since October. They really haven't come up with a viable, I don't know if this thing's on. Okay, with a viable, numbers. They should be able to break it down like the village police managed to do, which is town, BARD, and village, EMS, accident, and fire.
Okay, I agree. And we know a little more, not to stop you in a negative way, but they do the thing, that piece of paper they handed up, it is broken out. So me, what I do when I go home in the next day or two, I've built a spreadsheet here, which if I'm lucky, I can find it in a minute, but we're doing exactly that. It does, the first couple meetings they're bringing it in without detail or breakdown, was just an
Bounced around different things they've come up with,
And-
and people that brought it in.
But we did reach out to them and say, we really need detail, because one of the prime reasons is that we contract with them, and then so does the town of Red Hook, and we're trying to analyze who's got what exposure, what call count, what different things. So when budget sequences come up, we can best say, hey, these are the numbers, and like you might know, you might need a bigger truck and bigger tanker truck capacities to go fight a fire in the town somewhere than you would need in the village, where we just spent millions of dollars for fire pressure and hydrant.
Well, the village
upgrades.
has water, supplies them with the water, both on the street and at the firehouse.
Yeah, so we did, let me just, it's only got 2 months of data since they started bringing it in, but let's see. Let me see if I can find it for you, George. I've actually started the same thing on the police, because we're doing more town work with the PD, so I've built a similar, but here it is. So we're breaking out, it's kind of new to me. I started it, let's see, October, November, so we'll get in December numbers in. And what I break out is village total, and then was it an automatic alarm, an ambulance run, a fire run, a motor vehicle accident, or other. So, so those, the lower numbers should total up to the bigger number. And it's really not that much data there yet, but the third month will give us some, but that's what we're getting now.
Right, but I mean, that information should come out at the meeting, not handed to you and
Yeah.
kept in-house.
I think what I can do is, once I get more data, I can put this up. But what's interesting, if you look over here, right now the town allocation of assets is 74%, and we're 26% holding for the 2 months that I've studied. And the most recent contract talks we had with the town on their sharing was 75-25. So it's looking pretty, but still there are other factors. But we take your point, and that's why we had them hand that thing up there.
That's all I've got today.
Okay, thanks.
We haven't finished mining yet, George.
Like I said, I was doing a similar thing with the PD, our PD. Because essentially we're saying there are all departments of us. Let me just see if I can find a police one quickly. Yeah, see, I copied the format, but here I have UTT's parking and the rest, those are the numbers I read out. And somehow I found the June one, and then I started it really in October and November, so I'll plug in December. I don't think these fields are right. It's I don't remember putting, I think it's copying a formula from my other spreadsheet over on the far side. Pardon me? Yeah, I'll be getting it, but I figured, oh, yeah, yeah, I figured since if we're measuring one, let's measure the other. And, but anyway, all right, so we had from you, anybody else? What I would like to do is go into executive session very briefly. We're not going to come out and vote on anything. You're welcome to stay, and then we'll come back. You can turn off your camera in a minute once we move to go in, and then we'll come back out and pay some bills and close the meeting. So I would like to go to executive session to discuss public safety / personnel.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll be back in 5 minutes. The board is back from executive session. If we could, we close executive and we'll reopen regular session. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Yeah, let's see. As far as we asked for comment from the public, anything from the board that we didn't talk about that was on your minds before you sat down or opened up since you sat down? It's, anything good? Anything new? All right. What we can do is, we have a burden to pay bills. We heard the treasury report, but we need a formal motion to pay bills after audit. Is there such a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then I think we're done. It looks like it's 8:45-ish or somewhere in that, 8:40. I can't see my screen grayed out here. But Mr. Kowalczyk, historically, you worked that for us. Would you like to,
Historically, I would like to adjourn this evening's meeting.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night, Gracie.